Spartacus is one of the most famous gladiators in history, remembered for leading a rebellion that shook the Roman Empire. One of the most notable battles that showcases Spartacus's tactical genius and leadership occurred in the Battle of Mount Vesuvius in 73 BCE, shortly after his initial escape from the gladiatorial school. After Spartacus and his fellow gladiators escaped, they initially raided the countryside to gather weapons and supplies. Soon, their numbers swelled as many runaway slaves and disenfranchised people flocked to join the rebellion. Spartacus and his growing force retreated to Mount Vesuvius, which at the time was a heavily wooded, rugged terrain. The Roman Senate, alarmed by the uprising, sent a small force of about 3,000 soldiers under the command of Praetor Gaius Claudius Glaber to contain and eliminate Spartacus and his followers. Glaber, underestimating the rebels, assumed that Spartacus and his men were trapped on Mount Vesuvius. The Roman force blocked the main path down the mountain, believing that they had successfully cornered Spartacus and waited for them to starve or surrender. The Romans did not anticipate any strategic maneuver from what they saw as an untrained rabble of slaves. Spartacus, however, showed remarkable ingenuity in the face of this challenge. Rather than surrender or attack the Romans head-on down the obvious route, he devised a daring and unconventional plan. Using the wild vines and plants growing on the mountain, Spartacus and his men fashioned makeshift ladders and ropes. Under the cover of darkness, they silently climbed down the steep, unguarded cliffs of the mountain, an area that the Romans believed impassable. Once they reached the base of the mountain, Spartacus and his force circled around and launched a surprise attack on the Roman camp from behind. The Romans, completely unprepared and taken by surprise, were overwhelmed. Spartacus and his men slaughtered many of the Roman soldiers and captured valuable weapons, armor, and supplies. This victory was a humiliating defeat for Rome, particularly for Glaber, who had underestimated the rebel force. It demonstrated Spartacus's brilliance as a tactician and his ability to use the terrain to his advantage. His skill in turning a seemingly hopeless situation into a triumphant victory inspired more runaway slaves and disenfranchised people to join his cause, growing his army even further. The Battle of Mount Vesuvius showed that Spartacus was not just a skilled warrior, but also an adaptive leader who could outthink Roman commanders. It marked the beginning of a string of victories that made his rebellion one of the most dangerous challenges the Roman Republic faced in its history.